We all know who Harriet Tubman was. We know she escaped slavery. We know she went back again and again to help others escape. But how much do we really know about her life? Do we know who she married? What happened to her family? What she lost in order to be free? Or what her life looked like after the rescues ended? Today we're looking beyond the legend and into the private life of Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman was born enslaved in Dorchester County, Maryland, around 1822. Her birth name was Araminta Ross, and her family called her Minty. She was one of many children born to Harriet Ritgreen and Ben Ross. Her father was a skilled timber foreman, and her mother was a domestic servant. From an early age, Harriet learned that slavery did not respect family. Children could be sold away without warning, marriages could be ignored, and parents had no legal right to protect their own sons and daughters. This reality hit her own family hard. 3 of Harriet's sisters were sold away by Edward Brodess, and Harriet never saw them again. Later, a trader attempted to buy her youngest brother Moses, but her mother Rit physically resisted and refused to let him be taken. Dorchester County records show that Harriet had 4 sisters, Lina, Mariah Ritty, Soph, and Rachel, and 4 brothers, Robert, Ben, Henry, and Moses. She also considered 2 nieces, Harriet and Keziah Jolly, as sisters. Around 1844, Harriet married John Tubman, a free black man. Soon after her marriage, she began using the name Harriet Tubman instead of Araminta Ross. Historians agree that she took her mother's name, Harriet, though the exact timing is unclear. Some suggest it happened right after the wedding, while others believe it coincided with her plans to escape from slavery. Marriage did not protect Harriet. Even though John was free, Harriet remained enslaved. She could still be sold, beaten, or separated from her family at any time. Because Harriet was enslaved, any children she had would also be enslaved, no matter that her husband was free. By 1849, the danger became urgent. Harriet learned that she was likely going to be sold. Being sold meant permanent separation from her parents and siblings, possibly being sent far south, where escape would be nearly impossible. Harriet later said she prayed either to be free or to die, because she could not live knowing her family would be torn apart. On September 17, 1849, Harriet escaped from slavery with 2 of her brothers, Ben and Henry. Because they were hired out, their enslaver did not immediately realize they were gone. 2 weeks later, a runaway notice appeared in the Cambridge Democrat, offering a reward of up to $100 each for their capture and return. Fear soon caught up with her brothers. Ben regretted leaving behind his wife and children. The brothers decided to return, and Harriet was forced to go back with them. This was devastating for her. A few weeks later, in October or November of 1849, Harriet escaped again. This time, she went alone. She would never return to slavery. During this journey, Harriet relied on the Underground Railroad, a secret network of free and enslaved black people, white abolitionists, and other activists who helped people escape slavery. In Maryland, Quakers played an important role. The Preston area near Poplar Neck had a strong Quaker community and was likely one of Harriet's first safe stops. From there, Harriet probably traveled northeast, along the Choptank River, through Delaware, and then north into Pennsylvania. The journey was nearly 90 miles on foot and could take anywhere from 5 days to 3 weeks. She traveled mostly at night, guided by the North Star, avoiding slave catchers who hunted fugitives for reward money. Harriet rarely spoke about the details of this first escape, knowing that sharing routes could endanger others. But she did speak about how she felt when she crossed into Pennsylvania. Years later, she remembered looking at her hands to see if she was the same person. She said the sunlight came through the trees like gold, and she felt as though she had entered heaven. In late 1851, Harriet returned to Maryland for the first time since her escape. She went back to find her husband John and bring him to freedom. When she arrived, she learned that John had married another woman named Caroline. Harriet sent word asking him to join her, but he refused and said he was happy where he was. Harriet did not argue. Instead, she helped other enslaved people escape and led them north to Philadelphia. Over the next 10 years, Harriet made 13 known rescue missions and helped more than 70 people escape slavery. She rescued her parents and her 4 brothers, Ben, Robert, Henry, and Moses. But she was unable to save her beloved sister Rachel and Rachel's 2 children, Ben and Angerine. Rachel died in 1859 before Harriet could reach her. This loss stayed with Harriet for the rest of her life. After the Civil War, Harriet settled in Auburn, New York. She opened her home to formerly enslaved people, the elderly, and those with nowhere else to go. She ran a boarding house and struggled financially for much of her life, despite her national fame. Harriet often gave away what little money she had to help others. A Civil War veteran named Nelson Davis boarded in her home for several years. In 1869, Harriet and Nelson were married. This second marriage brought her companionship and stability. They did not have biological children, but they adopted a girl named Gertie, whom Harriet raised as her daughter. Harriet and Nelson worked their farm together, raising pigs and chickens and selling eggs and butter. Harriet continued to care for people in need, even as her health declined. She suffered from chronic pain, seizures, and the long-term effects of a severe head injury she had received as a child while enslaved. In her later years, Harriet became involved in the women's suffrage movement and spoke publicly about women's rights. She believed deeply that freedom should belong to everyone, regardless of race or gender. As she grew older, Harriet became increasingly ill and poor. Eventually, she moved into a home for the elderly that she had helped establish for Black Americans. She died peacefully in 1913 after a lifetime spent caring for others. Harriet Tubman's private life was not easy or comfortable. It was marked by loss, separation, and constant struggle, but it was also filled with loyalty, compassion, and quiet strength.